Check one, check two. All right, everybody, let's get started. Good afternoon, folks. Hello, welcome to the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and welcome into the SECU Daily Planet Theater. It's great to see folks here enjoying the Museum of Natural Sciences on this Wednesday afternoon. My name is Chris Smith. I'm the coordinator for current science programs here at the Museum of Natural Sciences, and I am your host for the Lunchtime Discovery Series. This is a lecture series that's organized by the Office of Environmental Education within the Department of Environmental Quality within the state of North Carolina, a sister organization to us here at the museum within the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, working together to find interesting people who do interesting things out there in the worlds of science, nature, conservation, education, and more. We invite them here into the museum, onto the stage inside the globe, and we take the opportunity to learn something new. And it's great because, well, the state of North Carolina has a lot of cool and interesting things going on. In fact, one of the coolest things that I think we have in North Carolina, besides the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, is the NC Zoo, is the North Carolina Zoo. Now, I don't know how the folks from the zoo here today feel about me positioning myself and my institution above theirs, but that is what they pay me to do, I suppose. The Department of Natural and Cultural Resources has lots of fantastic institutions. It includes the zoo, it includes us, it includes stuff like the aquariums and state parks, but between us, we know that the best ones are the zoo and the museums. So I don't know, they're just giggling in the back at all of this. So I'm very excited to introduce you today to two horticulture specialists from the NC Zoo. I'm very excited because normally if we're talking about the zoo, we're thinking like lions, tigers, and bears, right? But there is so much more that goes into running, operating, and managing a zoo program, especially if you want to be able to see the cool animals with like nice natural backdrops. And I think they've got some fun and interesting stuff to share, new updates on their programs at the zoo that they're going to talk to us about. So I'm very excited to hear their presentation today. Please put your hands and welcome to the stage Katie Davis and Arthur Knott.
So, hello everyone. I'm Arthur Knott, and this is Katie, and she's my supervisor. We're horticulturalists at the NC Zoo. And so, exactly what is zoo horticulture? Well, zoo horticulture is gardening and landscaping activities which occur in a zoo or aquarium setting. Our zoo horticulture mission and goal is to advance public awareness of the importance of the plants and their role in nature. Our goal is to create a living picture of the wild places and representative habitats that place animals in a respectful and appropriate setting. As in addition to being a member of the AZA, we're also a member of the AZH, a founding member of the AZH actually, which is the Association of Zoological Horticulture, which provides a lot.
Oh, pardon me for chiming in, Arthur. I just wanted to clarify that AZA is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. All accredited zoos and aquariums are a part of this larger sister organization, and the Association of Zoological Horticulture is one of those nonprofits, part of that greater group. So just like your museum and zoo, we are an accredited institution. Pardon my interruption.
Oh, no, for sure, definitely. And I mean, being a part of the Association of Zoological Horticulture allows us access to a lot of resources that help support zoo horticultural staff and the mission process that we're a part of. At the NC Zoo, we've also partnered with the Randolph Community College in 2018 to start a program that's really one of the first of its kind. And actually seen here in the slide is a staff member that came from that program that actually works with us now. It's like I said, one of the first of its kind type programs that trains people for coming to work in the horticulture program at the zoo. And the role of the zoo horticulture. Now, this is a diverse role that, you know, I'm a newer member of the staff. I've only been around for like 4 months, so I was actually really surprised to see how diverse our role in horticulture was. Our zoo is commonly recognized for its beautiful emerging plant collections, and most modern zoo habitats include and embrace the idea of placing animal species within the context of a natural environment, as opposed to seeing, you know, animals in cages with a bunch of potted plants around. You want things to look as natural as possible, and that's our main role at the zoo in horticulture. and that's done via both living and sometimes dead plant material. I mean, outside of our desert facility, we have an entire fence made of dead cacti. And we also sometimes will provide like perching for the birds in our aviary exhibits with some of the dead limbs that we find. And my role at the zoo is in interior tropical plants. This means the tropical plants featured in exhibits and facilities, offices, and displays throughout the park. And I really love tropical plants. I also get to do a lot of research and finding out kind of how plants live in nature and how we can grow them better and make better choices when it comes to plant selections for the zoo. I also get to propagate a lot of plants, chopping up plants to make more plants for our exhibit, plant care, and assisting my other horticultural teammates in other various areas like growing browse, which is our dietary, the plants for the animals' consumption. So, and Katie, do you want to take over
Sure,
from
I'll
here?
go ahead and we'll just get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty about those logistics. And thank you so much, Arthur. This is Arthur's first time doing public speaking here as a zoo employee, and I really appreciate you just stepping out of your comfort zone and being willing to share with the public what we're doing. This is also his first time being filmed working for the zoo, so show Arthur some love in the comments, y'all. So yes, the role of zoo horticulturalists. I think when I first came out of my educational background, you know, with our RCC zoological horticulture program that Arthur mentioned, that is so unique and one of a kind so far, I was not prepared for how diverse the world of horticulture is in the zoological setting, and very little education could really prepare me for that because so many of our staff have such diverse backgrounds in the horticulture, botany world, natural resource conservation, forestry. We have a team of almost 40 people, and every single person in our horticulture department has a really unique background, and that just contributes to all the diversity of things we do in our roles. So we're using plants to create a look of a habitat. We have to select certain plants. We have to make sure that they are not toxic, that they cannot poison our animals, or they are detrimental, that our animals or our guests can get hurt in them, hurt or injured by them in any sort of way. We are doing landscape design and designing new landscapes and installing them, like with our Asia expansion that opens in 2026, that is being done by our horticulture staff here in North Carolina. We're working to, establish these plants, give them the time they need to grow and thrive. You can't just plant a tree in a lion exhibit and then put a lion in there a day later. That kitty will just knock it over. You have to know and understand the plant's needs and give them time to grow and get established. So that's, a little bit more of what the role of zoo horticulture is. And on top of those other responsibilities that most of us get in traditional landscaping or horticulture or turf management, training and industry standards. Many of us come from agricultural backgrounds. So, we are doing things, maintaining our properties. The zoo being the world's largest natural habitat zoo of 2,700 acres and about 550 developed acres, that is a lot of space to maintain and take care of. So in interior horticulture, my staff and I, we are operating a full-scale nursery in 7 greenhouses. We are growing, we are propagating, we're doing integrated pest management. We are also designing and installing these landscapes, taking care of exhibits, and more. We run equipment. If a guest needs help finding the restroom, we're gonna help the guest find the restroom. We do a myriad of tasks, and every day is something new and exciting. We never know what could happen if we have a storm. Horticulture is there to save the day. If we have new plant deliveries coming in, if we have seed we want to collect. These are just some of the additional responsibilities we do, and I'm sure we've left things off the list. Coming and speaking in public, I need to add that one to the list. So in this niche world of zoo horticulture, there are definitely challenges and obstacles outside of the mainstream landscaping industry. Creating this immersive look of a natural habitat zoo and then putting animals into these exhibits those two things of a beautiful, pristine, maintained landscape are not always going to go hand in hand. And in all honesty, a perfectly maintained landscape is not a natural animal setting that you would see in the wild. You would not see bison on mowed grass. You would not see chimpanzees in pruned trees. So it is finding that balance of natural and aesthetically pleasing and while being immersive. And that's our responsibility of our staff, is to do that for, our guests to be immersed and for our animals to have the high standards of living and care that we pride ourselves in maintaining. But, with that being said, animals can be tough on a landscape, and we'll go a bit more into that. So when you're thinking of a zoo, traditionally you're thinking of the giraffes, you're thinking of the elephants, you're thinking of the primates. But you also think of the outdated sort of traditional, the Victorian, the zoos of animals behind wrought iron cages, and that is something we have moved far, far away from in the industry as a whole. And plants are critical. Besides having that immersive natural experience, again, providing that care for our animals, giving them shade, giving them grass, what we call enrichment, giving animals plants to encourage those natural behaviors that they have in the wild, animals enjoying things to chew on or interact with. That is so critical to not only animal care, but again, the guest experience and, trying to make it educational and informative for the public. And again, that's just what makes it so exciting, because there's so many plants to choose from. So again, like I was saying, it's very rigorous on plants, though, to have animals on a landscape. You can't necessarily seed out grass and put elephants right on top of your seed. So what we call is carrying capacity, which is that balance between what we can manage with our plants and our animals' needs. So sometimes we do various different things. We may rotate out plants within our exhibits. We have, like I mentioned earlier, we have a full operational nursery and greenhouses. So sometimes we may just swap a plant out if we know it's something an animal really likes. We try to keep extras on hand so we can, provide that need. Sometimes we may move animals to different sections of their habitats if we're doing a renovation or we are installing more plants, to give the plants a chance to, thrive and continue to prosper alongside the animals. We cut browse. Again, like Arthur mentioned earlier, we use deadfall. We have a full arbor crew on park. So anytime a tree is coming down, we are always trying to be sustainable in how we manage our landscapes and plants. So if it is something that is safe for our animals to be around, we try to find ways that we can use it and have our zookeepers utilize it for their animals also. And coming back to the role of the plants in our habitats, we're really trying to keep it that natural, realistic look. There is no prime, pristine landscape in zoological horticulture. And we get really creative along with our zookeeper staff. Often we work hand in hand with our zookeepers, trying to come up with creative ways to protect our plants and also keep our animals happy. Doing things like what we call hot wire, putting wire around areas so an animal may not climb into a tree and damage the tree or injure themselves, or cutting and providing things for them. Often we are trying different types of browse, always working with our vet staff to get new plants approved and used in the landscape. And it's just so exciting. Other things we do to meet those capacity goals, especially when you have these large habitats that, maybe 20 to 30 acres, giving plants their time to grow, using protection for both the plants and animals, Sometimes in our smaller exhibits, we will put a plant in the pot if it's with an animal we know cannot damage the pot, or often with herps and the smaller creatures. So there's all sorts of clever tricks and things we can do. So next time you come to the zoo, really look at the plants, and you may be able to see some of the things we do. Occasionally, we may use a fake plant if it's the appropriate setting to get a look for something. If you have an exhibit that has no light, that's a little bit more difficult to get a plant to grow. So there's always a trick. There's always something we can do, from collecting pine straw to put some, extra fluff into an exhibit to make it look more natural, or collecting leaf litter, repurposing maybe animal antlers. We have a very talented and creative team at the zoo in general. So it's always fun to try new things and talk to new staff. And what are you doing for enrichment? What are you doing for browse? What are you doing in your exhibit? And looking at other zoos and sister institutions like our museums and aquariums and seeing what they're doing too. So getting a bit into the plant selection process, we do try to do look-alike plants and getting the feel of a habitat. This is not Madagascar, this is not Southern Africa, this is not Asia, so we have to utilize what we can. If we can use a North Carolina native plant to get the look of a similar area, we will try to do that. And it's just so exciting when you get to research and look into these different plants and learn about what you can try, and getting them approved. We sometimes get excited and can't just give the vet a list of 30 plants you want approved. You have to really be smart and think about, how is that plant going to grow and thrive and really make it promote the care that the wildlife needs and wants. Sometimes a plant may be approved to use in an exhibit for an animal, but it may not have any interest in it. The animal may not want anything to do with it. So back to the drawing board, you're using another plant. We are also lucky enough, our staff get to travel through the Association of Zoological Horticulture and AZA and other institutions within the zoo and plant community. We always are trying to visit new zoos, connect with other zoo and aquarium staff, and see what they're doing and seeing what works for them. And in this niche industry, those connections are just critical, and they just mean so much to get that. And also, we are plant people. We like to have fun with plants. We enjoy growing plants for selfish reasons also, and just beautifying the park. Anytime we have a place we can put a planter, or maybe there's a trip hazard somewhere, if we can put a plant there or put it in someone's office to brighten their day, we will jump at that opportunity. Any plant that is flowering in the greenhouse, that is a wasted plant. We want it to be where you all can see it and enjoy it.
You get a plant, you get a plant, you get a plant.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some days, the animals, if it is a really rainy day or it's a really cold day, our animals may or may not be visible by the public, especially with our large habitats. But the plants are always going to be there. You know, if you take away all of our plants, you have a really ugly zoo. But if you take away all the animals, you still have 5 miles of beautiful nature park to enjoy, 363 days of the year. So that's something we take great pride in knowing that that is on full display for the public to enjoy every day. We take great pride in that work and having our plants look beautiful and contributing to the environment and being there for not just us to enjoy, but all of you too. And again, using look-alike plants. We don't necessarily have the luxury of traveling the world to get everything we want. So we really try to, if we have the opportunity, use a North Carolina or US native plant. And we're always looking to see what other zoos are doing. The example we like to use is our Rocky Coast habitat. That is based off of northern Canada. That sort of, forest to tundra look. That is not what this area of North Carolina looks like. So we had to use look-alike plants to try to create that immersive look of what does the landscape look like for an Arctic fox or a polar bear in those regions, and using plants. Even certain colors, maybe if something is variegated versus not variegated, or we know it flowers earlier or later than other plants, anything we can do to extend that bloom season and also supporting our pollinators and our birds, or something that just has a really attractive bark or leaf shape. You can just go down the rabbit hole with plants, and that's what we love about it. So again, taking all, just some of those elements of all of that and blending that together. We have a diverse ecosystem here in North Carolina, from the mountains to the Piedmont to the coast, and incorporating our continents at the zoo of North America and Africa, and with coming in Asia and future exhibits. The opportunities are endless, and that's what's just so much fun is, different times of the year you may get a completely different plant experience at the zoo, but there's always going to be something exciting there, whether it's in our buildings or it's on the trails. And we just love taking pride in that, and seeing a guest or a kid or even a coworker get excited and then point at a plant. That just means so much, and we get so much out of that. And that creating the immersive landscape is really our goal, to let a guest walk in and take in an area and see, what the climate may be like in the Sonoran Desert, and to see the saguaros and see the sand, and then see, oh yes, there's animals, and I just happen to be, subtly, not able to touch them. That is just that perfect feeling that we are trying to capture through botanical endeavors. And creating interest, drawing people into learning about what we do with these collections of our plants at the zoo. I think that is the desire we have for being in plants in general. Plant people, we're a special breed. And we always want to talk about plants with each other, with the public. It's just, we have a really good team that we have built, and I'm just so proud to be a part of a group of wonderful people who take such pride in sharing this. And again, thank you all for inviting us to share and talk about this. Hopefully we can come back in the future and continue these in more specific topics. So another thing that's really critical to what we do in horticulture is protecting rare plants. We have a rare plant conservation program. We do a yearly rare plant census. We share that information with the Department of Agriculture and other federal institutions. And having so much land at the zoo and having our extra offsite properties, it's really given us an opportunity to promote regional conservation and highlight the unique diversity that is in the UREs. Because we have these little microclimates of rockier areas to Piedmont to sandier areas a little bit south of us, we have really fantastic plant and rare plant diversity in our area, and that is a big part of what we care about in not only protecting but sharing that and promoting it. So we do both in situ and ex situ conservation. That may be on another slide, but at the end of the day, the zoo's mission is to conserve both plants and animals, and those two things go hand in hand. And it's, our ethical responsibility to, care for and manage and share this with the public, because these are North Carolina treasures, these plants. And it's our responsibility as good stewards of the environment to promote and care about them and share this. So every year in October, we do our rare plant census. We go out in the field. Some of our plants, and I'll elaborate a little bit further on, we do propagate. We do connect with other institutions to share seed or get information on what we can do to promote growth or find new sites to continue to cultivate these plants. We do controlled burns at some of our populations for Piedmont prairie species that need that fire to promote those populations. We will do pretty much whatever's needed for the plants at the end of the day. So this annual census, it really helps us monitor populations. There's Arthur and I from this past year's census out in the field. and the rest of our team. So these are just a few of our prime species that we have the permits for, that we protect and we, keep data on. Some of our, rare pitcher plants, prairie species. And this is just, it's such a treat to learn about these populations. I mean, some of these plants, there may be only, 40 to 60 left in some of these wild areas. And I feel very proud that I get to be a voice for them. I think most of us feel that way. And yes, there is a lot of data entry that goes into monitoring rare plant populations, mapping, permitting. It's a very pain in the butt spreadsheet, but it needs to be done, and so we do it. And so a few other things that I wanted to highlight on in, what Arthur touched on to begin with was, again, browse. Animals need a lot of food to live, especially large animals. When you think about elephants and giraffes, bears, elk, these animals, rhinos, hoofstock, they need a lot of plants to live. And if you were only eating, the same cereal every day, you'd get really bored. You don't just want to feed animals the same thing every day. You need to have a diverse diet so they can get all their nutrient needs, and again, have those behaviors that they exhibit in the wild that we can use plants to help them do that. So we have several browse gardens on park. We have one greenhouse where we grow nothing but browse. It's a plant called Aframomum, or alligator pepper. It's in the ginger family, and it's really critical for primate heart health, pardon me. So those are things, it's a real priority for us to grow this material and make sure our animals are getting it, and they can just continue to live a healthy and, thriving life. Every plant part, if we can use it and it is not toxic, we will use for our animals. So we can, certain animals, a tree trunk, and they can peel the bark off of it. We may give them a branch and they'll peel the leaves off of it and then eat it. Some animals even like the roots, and they will pick in the roots and get the bugs out. So we have, besides our greenhouses and nursery, we have a browse garden and several smaller gardens on park. And we're actually in the process of a behind-the-scenes expansion that will be 6 additional acres, where we will be farming browse like a crop to be harvested. So we're very excited to really just up the amount of plant material we can give our animals and start growing browse plants. And a lot of times we are using native plants. One of our number one plants our animals like to eat is sweet gum, or tulip poplar, red mulberry, wax myrtle. So we are really excited to have this additional space where we can grow thousands of plants and harvest them for our animals to eat, and just really continue to give them that high quality of plant care and grow plants for them. Again, more browse. A lot of our big feeders, this is hours a day cutting and getting food and harvesting for them. This is a recent browse planting we did this past year. It's never enough, but we are always striving to grow more and more plants for our animals. And these plants here are wax myrtles, so we want to have material both in the growing season and in the winter season. So this time of year when the trees are dropping their leaves, that scales back a little bit of what's available for them to feed on. So we also try to have evergreen plants that our animals enjoy. Some plants they do not enjoy, even if they are approved, whether it's a texture of the leaf or a certain taste. So we're really trying to find more evergreen plants to fill those needs in the winter for our animals. And again, we're giving them any size and shape. If it can be used and utilized to promote any sort of behavior, that's what we're trying to do with our plants. And we'll meet with keepers. Sometimes we'll come watch the animal eat the plant to see how it interacts with it. Maybe it just takes a bite out of it and it throws it down and it wants nothing to do with it. Some of our flowering and fruiting shrubs, we've observed animals will eat the berries off of, and not the leaves. So working hand in hand with our animal staff to, note those things and, keeping that in, in your back pocket. And anytime we are driving around the park, we might point out and go, oh, we need some of that. We need some of that. And do that what we can to help them with that. And browse safety too. Again, we want our animals to be safe in their habitat. So if we can use plants to maybe deter an animal from a behavior we do not want them to have, or, plants grow. Part of our role in horticulture is doing these habitat and exhibit maintenance projects. Elephants have a trunk. They can reach over the fence and grab things. So always being cognizant of that and inspecting our fence lines and making sure that we are maintaining these plants in a healthy and safe way for our animals and for our staff to collect and harvest. And again, I know this is a big list of things. I'm sure this is not everything that we are doing. And again, a few more things that we do in the horticulture department is storm cleanup. There is no shortage of trees at our zoo. This is from a microburst that happened several years ago near our giraffe feeding deck. When events happen like this, horticulture staff are essential employees. It is our job, whether it is a storm or a snow event, we have to make sure that our staff can get to work there safely and that our animals are safe and no trees have fallen on any sort of exhibit, security or fencing. Recently, this past year with Hurricane Helene, we actually sent our arbor crew to the Nature Center in Asheville to help them do tree work and help our sister institution out from all the storm damage out there. So, just another reason we are so grateful for these connections within this industry that we were able to lend assistance due to such a tragic storm and all the damage up there. And a couple other things as our compost operation. It is a very impressive operation. On average, we are doing about 1,600 tons of waste a year. We compost all waste on park, excluding primate and cat waste, because that can be a vector for zoonotic diseases. We have that securely transported away. But we compost everything, old soil, plants, all of our cutlery on park and utensils, all of that is compostable. So we have a staff member, their full-time job is just turning compost and maintaining that data and those logs. And yeah, over the past 20 years, we've saved, you can see, quite a lot of money by not having to deal with that waste disposal and, mitigating the soil and runoff. And also it just, again, goes into our goal of trying to be sustainable in everything that we do. We use this compost after it is, finished and ready to utilize. We use it in our landscapes. We make compost tea. It's like black gold. It is just beautiful material. And that's something that we are really lucky to have the privilege to do on site at our facility. It's always a highlight of tours to bring agriculture classes and animal science classes out to see the compost operation. Even as stinky as it is, it's quite impressive. And last but not least, the future of our horticulture department. The big exciting news we had for our 50th anniversary this year is that the North Carolina Zoo has become an accredited botanical garden through BGCI. It really just made sense, being the world's largest natural habitat zoo, that we should be a botanical garden also, especially in the heart of North Carolina with other wonderful, institutions like the Botanical Garden in Chapel Hill, Duke Gardens, Ralston, the Arboretum in Asheville. It's such an honor to be a part of these other prestigious gardens here in our state. And we're really looking forward to putting boots to the ground and moving forward with this. It is a lot of work to make an institution into a botanical garden, and only a handful of zoos and aquariums are also accredited botanical gardens. This was about a 1.5 year process just to get the application completed. And just to give you a little bit of context, while we have roughly around 1,700 animals on park, we have 52,000 plants, and I'm sure that is a lowball number. So to go through these plants and, in the application process itself, developing a 5-year strategic plan, a collections management plan. I had no experience of doing any of this before my curator, Jim Harnett, came to me and, said, we're going to become a botanical garden. We're doing it. It was about 15 topics we had to target in encapsulate and show to the BGCI, the accreditation institution, that we do on park. And many of them were already practices the North Carolina Zoo has been doing: education, outreach, sustainability, ethics, but other things, collecting seed, propagation. It was a myriad of topics, and to kind of not just say we do it, but to, show receipts, giving, them copies of our policies, our guidelines, going and taking photographs of staff removing invasive plants, anything that we could highlight to show that what we were doing for it. And we were so lucky that they accepted our application and welcomed us to the club. So going forward, while we're, getting all these things together, we are doing a lot of plant surveys, we're doing field work, we're doing plant ID. We are having to map these plants, GPS locate them. We are constantly updating our inventory and our plant records of where these plants are coming from. We've started a seed banking program. We use this Iris BG, that's our collections management software. I am not a tech person, and navigating learning software, it has just been so exciting, and this is just the beginning. So we are really looking forward. Maybe we'll come back in the future and we'll be able to share with you more about this process of becoming an accredited botanical garden. It's just been such a joy to be a part of, and doing plant conservation work as my job, and also working with animals. So that's really a nutshell of what is zoological horticulture from Katie and Arthur. Arthur, if you'd like to chime in on any little tidbits, otherwise we'll see if the audience has any questions.
I've just been really fortunate to be a part of the horticulture team here at the NC Zoo, and since starting, I've learned so much, and I look forward to learning more with the NC Zoo horticulture team in the future, because there's a lot to learn about plants at the zoo.
Well, thank you all.
Fantastic stuff. Excellent job. What a wonderful presentation. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So if you are in the room and you've got a question for them, just wave at me. You can yell down at me if you're on the balconies. And if you are watching online, hi everybody, you can drop your questions for our guests in the chat. We've got it pulled up so that we can see your questions and get them into the program. But I have a massive, huge, big question to ask you because the NC Zoo, hold on. Congratulations on the Botanical Garden accreditation. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
That's really cool, and I'm very proud that our zoo has achieved that.
So are we.
The next big thing is the Asia expansion that's happening, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
In the next year, 2, 3, the NC Zoo is growing by how many more animals, how much more space and exhibits? Can you share anything about the horticulture planning that has to go into getting ready for such a massive new expansion that has completely different plant types and looks and feels compared to North America and Africa?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a 10-acre expansion. The horticulture staff is, we have been propagating and sourcing plants for this project for about 2 years or so. We did try to get as many plants as we could from North Carolina nurseries, but some of these unique specimen plants we did have to source from as far away as Oregon up to Virginia. Some of the plants our staff are propagating in-house. It's going to be a diverse plant collection. Obviously, there will be some of the classic plants you associate with an Asian landscape, like the cherry blossoms. We've started a modest bonsai collection in-house, so that's been really exciting For myself, who is a plant propagator, learning about bonsaiing, it kind of goes against everything that is natural to me to cut off a taproot to a tree. We will have an array of really beautiful grasses, perennials, shrubs, a lot of trees. We have a beautiful Asian type forest with some really lovely conifer specimens that we're gonna have incorporated. It's a really good mix of native and non-native plants. The non-natives are non-invasive plants going into this landscape, and it's been really exciting to have a hand in doing some of that design and laying out an installation. As for the animals, I'm not 100% certain on what animals we are getting, but I can tell you that the habitats look very cool.
Yeah, that's okay. I was mostly curious about
Okay.
just like the plants and like what it must be like when the zoo said, okay, blank slate, new continent, what should it look like? And then getting to sit down and think, what do the exhibits look like? What plants are going to go in the exhibits? What are the trails going to look like? And all of everything you talked about here, but getting to do it from blank slate up.
Yeah, it was very interesting once they first cleared it. The look is going to be a little bit of like a temple ruins. We have some really beautiful exhibits and rock work that are in these habitats. The Komodo dragon exhibit is going to be beautiful. That's one of my personal favorites, and probably followed by Warty Pig. It's a little bit intimidating. You really want to have all elements of a landscape in a healthy and functional landscape that also gives back to the ecosystem. So what I mean by all layers of the landscape is, having that herbaceous ground level, and then your perennials and your grasses, and then your shrubs and your understory trees, and then making that transition into the woods and the forest that is the rest of the zoo's landscape. And sometimes we've had to make changes. When you build a zoo in the Uaris, you may find boulders or rocks, so that has been a big obstacle. If a boulder is too big to relocate, you have to make changes to your landscape, or if they need to make changes for animal access, or having different types of enrichment to be installed. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm very excited for it. That's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, let me get some questions for you from our viewers online. First up, can you give us examples of unusual or surprising plant and animal interactions?
Well, I can just say that it is fun. Katie talked earlier about the enrichment, just getting to provide different small enrichment items for animals, like say lemongrass or basil or something for our sand cats. They love that. Or like hibiscus flowers for some of the tortoises. That's really cool.
A sand cat likes basil?
Yes.
Yes,
They do.
animals like herbs, the smells and interacting with them.
And it's cool. Those little interactions are neat to be able to see and provide and know that you're a part of that. That's definitely some cool plant-animal interactions that I've seen.
I'm trying to think. The most recent one I saw was one of our smaller primate species. This past fall was really interested in a plant that is called beautyberry. It's a native shrub that has those gorgeous fuchsia berries on it. And it was actually eating it like corn on the cob and eating the little berries off. And that was particularly adorable to enjoy. And I think that's just one of the many perks of the job is, you might just be pruning something or watering something, and all of a sudden an animal is right next to you. Those moments of cuteness and, being precocious and inquisitive, you can never predict when they're going to happen. So when they do, we all just kind of have to stop and bask in the cuteness together.
For sure.
That's fantastic. Okay, next question for you. Susie wanted to know, how large is your staff? Because this sounds like a big job.
Horticulture department, when we are fully staffed, we're right around, I'd say 38 to 40 staff members.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
And then we also do get our seasonal interns from the Zoological Horticulture Certificate Program. And we also have some really great volunteers who come and work with us and our staff in our greenhouses and our gardens also.
That is a big crew.
Yes.
I mean, you've got a lot to take care of, so you need hands, but that's more than I thought. That's really impressive. Okay, Can you tell us a little bit more about how you coordinate with the keepers when you have to work directly in the animal habitats, especially with the larger animals?
Yes, so with larger animals, we have what is called protected contact. We are never on our exhibits with our dangerous animals for both their safety and ours without some sort of protection. So we have a really good communication system. All staff have badges and we have radios. So we do a monthly habitat maintenance schedule. We obviously have factors like weather that may change it, but we do routine scheduled maintenance, and on our larger exhibits, like say our plains habitat or elephant, there might be, a dozen staff out there at a time. Sometimes the zookeeper staff will assist and help us with string trimming or push mowing, while the horticulture staff are on tractors. And so yes, we have a whole protocol of radioing and getting access to habitat, having your hang badge for security reasons, and then checking in with your keepers to make sure there are no humans on the exhibit before the animals go back out. And we also do, drills every year to, make sure that these practices are tight and that, we are adhering to them.
When I came for my interview, we actually had an escaped animal drill during my interview. Remember?
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
yes, it was just a drill, but that
just a
was
drill.
in his interview. We couldn't let him leave the office until it was complete.
Definitely an exciting interview, for sure.
Wow. Yeah. No joke. Okay. It must be weird. You like walk in a room and then a radio call comes through, escaped animal, and you're like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, is this how it is, like standard?
Oh, it's a drill. It's a drill. Okay. Let's see. Some more questions for you. These are great. Katie and Arthur, what are your favorite plants that you grow at the zoo?
Well, I'm a tropical plant lover, so we have an impressive collection of philodendrons that some of them came from our aviary that we've propagated and grown on in the greenhouse that I'm responsible for. So definitely our philodendron collection would be my favorites.
Ooh, do you know how many different, is it species?
Different
varieties?
species of philodendrons we have. I don't know how many different species. We have them all logged, but I don't know right off the top of my hand how many species, but I would say over a dozen for sure.
Wow.
For me, I would have to say probably the Helianthus schweinensii. That is Helianthus. It is Schweinensis sunflower. It is a Piedmont prairie protected North Carolina sunflower that I have just become in love with over the years. I love any chance I get to do to promote conservation and propagation of that plant. I even have a population on my own personal landscape that I take great pride in. And then any North Carolina native plant is a favorite plant of mine also.
I love that. That's great stuff. And the next question had come in that was related. What plant-related conservation work have you been a part of at the zoo that you're most proud of? You talked about the rare plants work that you do and the reporting, which sounds incredible. Like that, it's amazing to me to think that the NC Zoo or that any zoo is doing that level of botanical conservation, particularly.
I would say really the recent endeavors, because I'm also a fairly new staff member going on 5 years. Starting the seed banking program has been particularly rewarding. Getting random people from the public finding me and reaching out to me and offering me materials and support. Any chance we get to go do field work with sister institutions like the Piedmont Land Conservancy or DOT, and lending our expertise in if we can help other sister institutions about, with suggestions for land management or invasive removal, other things we can do to promote that. And getting connected also with university students is also really rewarding when they reach out to us. Several years ago, we had someone reach out to us about bananas. And recently, we had a senior reach out to us from a local university about assisting us with some software development for surveying people about plant conservation. So I don't have a favorite yet because I'm sure there's many more to come.
The breadth of work going on is so impressive. All right, I think this will probably be the last one for our time. David wants to know what plants you would like to add to the zoo. What's on your wish list?
Oh, all of them?
All the plants. Just give us all of the plants. Katie's going to say anything native for sure.
I am. I'm a native nerd.
I mean, I'm all for adding some more carnivorous plants. I think that would be cool. Maybe we could try some butterwort, something like that. Those are really neat. I'm all for adding some to help, like she talked about earlier with the integrated pest management. We do a lot of beneficial insects to help control harmful pests in the greenhouse, and I think adding more carnivorous plants could just help kind of bolster that in a more sustainable effort in pest management.
I will say, since it's well known I'm a native plant nerd now, I would like to see us, and
You're in good company here.
and we already are doing this, really adding more plant material to support our local flora and fauna. One of my horticulture supervisors and we have partnered with some of our other staff for the Monarch Safe program, saving animals from extinction. So we've been proactively getting a lot more milkweeds established on park. We've been interested in adding a lot more plants to promote birds, migratory birds, songbirds, even aquatic birds, and ducks and stuff like that. So I would like to just see us continuing our endeavors to not only plant plants to support our animals that already exist on park, but our other animals that just exist in Randolph County and the UREs in general.
That's fantastic. One of my favorite things about visiting the NC Zoo is as soon as you walk in, I don't remember what entrance it is, but then there's just a wetland, like a wetland pond, and you walk over the boardwalk and there's native freshwater turtles hanging out before you've ever even made it into the zoo to see the other wildlife from all across the world. So I'm a huge fan of everything that y'all have got going on out at the NC Zoo. Thanks for being with us today and sharing your corner of it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Which is all the corners of it. You've got every inch of the zoo.
Yes, thank you again for having us, and we look forward to coming back.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back because we want to know more about these plants you're growing. We might just have you back and you just teach us all how to grow plants.
All right, sounds good.
I think we could do that, tropicals and otherwise. That'll do it for today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Lunchtime Discovery Series. Thanks to the museum's digital media staff for helping us get this program out to you online and here in the building. Thanks to the Office of Environmental Education for coordinating and running this lecture series and the great programs they do. Make sure that you check out naturalsciences.org, the museum's website, or eenorthcarolina.org, the website for the Office of Environmental Education, where you can see more programs, events, things going on, as well as sign up for the email listserv for this program. If you enjoyed it, come back and share with us again in the future. We won't see you again until the new year, everybody, so Happy New Year. We'll be back here on Wednesday, January 8th with a new program and a new great lineup of guest speakers. So don't miss out. Get signed up, and I hope we'll see you again real soon. Take care. Be well out there. Bye, everybody.